Now, the COVID-19 is part of the species of SARS-related coronaviruses that have led to previous epidemics over the last 2 decades, known as SARS-CoV in 2002, 2003 in China, also the MERS-CoV, that's 2012, 2013 in Saudi Arabia. But what we know of COVID-19 is that it is presented mainly by the lower respiratory tract-related symptoms, such as fever, cough, chest tightness, and more. But it also causes upper respiratory tract-related symptoms like nasal congestion, sore throat, smell dysfunction, if you heard from some of the survivors. Joining us right now is Professor Titus Ibekwe. He's an otorhinolaryngologist and ENT specialist, also a public health physician. He joins us from our Abuja studios. Glad to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Professor, let's begin. What would you say are the current ENT manifestations of the coronavirus?
Thank you very much. The coronavirus, as you have described, basically the upper respiratory tract is a point of entrance. And for that reason, the typical manifestations that's related to ENT. Very specific ones here include the loss of smell, which one of the survivors have just described, and loss of taste. These two are very unique because we have found out that minimum 1 out of every 3 cases of COVID-19 across the globe, including Nigeria, will present in this manner. And most of the times, this loss of smell and taste even happen before other typical symptoms of COVID start manifesting. And therefore, it could be an early sign, a red flag, that even individuals can use to personally assess themselves. And of course, medical personnel, it should be one of the early screening tools for them to use when they are trying to clerk their patients and ask questions.
Professor Ibekwe.
Recently, it's been observed that the ear is also involved. So fullness in the ear is one of the symptoms which is newly identified.
I wanted to quickly ask, Professor, if I may, just before you continue, because how do we differentiate the loss of taste or smell of COVID-19 and other diseases? You would agree that this has led to some of the reasons why people have disbelief that COVID-19 exists. Some are calling it malaria. So what's the difference? How do you identify that? Because you've also talked about self-assessment that people can do.
Yeah, typically the loss of smell in COVID-19 is unique because unlike in other causes, other ENT diseases that will manifest in this manner, including common cold, nasal tumor, infections, this particular one will come without rhinorrhea, that is running nose, is not usually part of it. Unlike the rest of other ENT symptoms that would lead to this, that commonly comes with running nose. And most of the time, the nasal congestion is long gone, and still the loss of smell and loss of taste are still very much there. So this actually clearly distinguish the type of loss of smell and taste that you see in COVID-19 compared to other ENT diseases. And it is known that there are about 10 times chances of loss of smell and taste occurring in COVID patients when you compare to other illnesses that could lead to loss of smell and taste. So it is really, really clearly distinguished if we look at nitty-gritties when you compare to other manifestations. And a long time, it still stays, even when the patient has recovered from the typical acute symptoms of COVID-19. Fever could have gone and other related symptoms, but the loss of smell and taste will still persist.
Professor Titus Ibekwe, thank you so much, ENT specialist and public health physician. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Millicent. Thank you for having me.
Have a nice day. We have more on the global response to the pandemic when we return. Please join us again.